And we are back on SANDCAST with not Andy Benesh, we have Andrew Benesh today.
Benesh.
We're going full name today.
I think you're the only one other than my mom that calls me Andrew.
Is that a normal thing? You call him Andrew always?
Like sometimes, I feel like, because one of my best friends growing up, his name was Andy Levy. And everyone called him Andy, but for whatever reason, we called him Andrew. Probably just to like kind of give him shit for it. But it just like was a thing that we just called him Andrew, and because he like only his parents called him Andrew, only when he was in trouble, and so we just called him Andrew all the time.
Yeah, that's usually if I hear Andrew, I'm like, what did I do? Right. So I'm looking around. Yeah,
it's like me with Savannah too. I'm like, oh gosh, never hear it.
I didn't know your name was Savannah for the longest time.
I didn't know that either.
Like that UCLA team, I remember thinking had the coolest roster of names.
Yep.
Like, but just between you and Zana,
it
was cool
the
enough.
Partnership.
I didn't know that her name was Susanna for the longest time.
The best was in the Aguas Calientes Norsega. They were announcing him as Susanna and Alexandra Wheeler, and I was like, this is the weirdest thing. This is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we all have. Zana's the most unique name I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, and I dig it. I'm like, I think Zana's like
sick.
a badass name.
It's sick.
Yeah.
I love it.
But
Andrew.
everyone's back from competing. We got first international medal.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Thanks.
La Paz, come on.
Give it a bow.
Yeah.
And first AVP win, Andy freaking Benesh. I'm fired up for you, man.
Yeah, it was a cool experience.
No kidding. Like, what a cool way to do it. Like, playing with Nick for a whole season is cool enough, and then Nick's got to, like, jet to coach Florida State, and you get to play with the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, I mean, when Nick like couldn't play anymore, he's put us in a group text. I think you talked to Phil before, and put us in a group text, and Phil was like, "Yeah, I'm in." I'm like, "All right, let's go." So it came together like pretty naturally. Like, I actually didn't talk to Phil at all before he got there. I mean, I texted him. I was like, "You want to play left or right?"
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I'll play on the right. And then I was thinking about it, and I talked to Nick, and he was like, yeah, you should definitely play left. I was like, yeah, you're right. That's a good call. Yeah. So I give credit to Nick for at least 25% of that win. Because if I was on the right, I don't think we would have won.
Well, maybe, because like you have that debate of if Phil's on the left, his option's way more in play.
That's what I was thinking. But I was like, I mean, I'm going to get served 90% of the balls anyway.
Yeah.
It would have made my side out way worse. So that's kind of like where we decided.
Right.
The first game, I was like, you want to start on the right this time? He was like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool. We'll just keep it like that.
Thank God.
It worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
I was really curious how you guys were going to do, because, I mean, we were in Cuba, so, like, we couldn't really watch.
Right, no
Wi-Fi. I was like, you played, Well, actually, it was funny because like when we did get Wi-Fi, it actually worked really well. But you just never knew what day it was going to work. So we would go like a day or two without it, and then I'd pop back on and be like, "Oh, like we're flying now. This is great."
That's awesome.
But you played so much grass growing up and so much indoor. You've played so much volleyball. I was like, and he's so big and athletic. Like you can dig a ball. Like I've seen it.
I take pride in my defense. It's just nobody lets me play defense.
I was thinking about it. I was like, Andy, I was telling Tim, I was like, I think Andy's a legitimately good defender.
Thank you. I know when you texted me that, I was like, yeah, man, I'm trying, dude. I'm trying.
And then you get Big Phil up there.
Yeah.
And between you guys, like two really good servers, really good setters, really good side-out players, it's like jumpy as hell. It's like a perfect beach for you guys to play
and
on.
hot, so we could split block.
Exactly.
The conditions could not have
been
better.
This is working out pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it was cool, like, me and Phil had very, like, similar philosophies of what we wanted the defender to do to set up the play. So we were hiding a lot. We were, like, jumping in and out between the seam. And, like, the first conversation we had about it, I was like, all right, we're on the same page. Like, we don't have to, like, try to, work something out. Like, we were on the same page from the start. So it was cool to like be able to, well, not only like play behind his block, it was pretty easy. I think if I was playing with like somebody else, I would have looked way worse as a defender. But it was cool, like being the one that can like bait for him and like try to trick the hitter into swinging into him. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It just like, just thinking, I was thinking about the last couple years for you. I mean, you and Eric were like the hot young new team, and then you get picked up by Billy, who's just phenomenal. Then it's Nick, and then it's Phil. It's like you are on like a fast treadmill right now.
It doesn't feel real for sure. Yeah. That's like one of those moments. I was like, it felt like I was in a movie, to be honest. Like, even, I was like, oh, maybe he won't show up or something. Or I just won't be able to play.
Yeah.
Like, until he got there, I was like, oh, okay, this is actually going to happen. Like, so
we were in the USA gym, like, I think the day before we left, and he walked out. And like, I didn't even ask. Yeah. Like, I think I asked, like, when are you leaving or whatever. And he was walking out, and I was kind of lifting near the door, and he's like, gotta go work on my split blocking. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, he looked at me like, don't really say anything. And I didn't. I kept it secret. I didn't even tell Evan.
Thank you.
And I was like, oh my gosh. I just was so curious how it was going to go. And obviously, turned out amazing.
Yeah.
Were there any games that... Because I didn't get to watch all of them, obviously. I was playing, and I was in a loser bracket, so I was, like, grinding away. But were there any really, really close battles, or was it kind of you guys just dominated?
No, there were some close battles. Yeah. We went to 3 with Taylor and Taylor. Mm-hmm. We kind of pulled away early in the third set, so that one wasn't super close. Mm-hmm. Trevor and Try was a close one. Mm-hmm. I think it was like 12-10 or something, and Trevor netted, and he admitted it, by the way. Did you watch that play?
I cannot believe
that
wasn't called. That's one of the most egregious no calls I've seen on the AVP, Norsec, whatever. Like, fine. But AVP...
I lost my mind. But, like, I have a theory, like, if you go after the ref too hard, like Bill Klinsky,
like you're not going to get the call.
Right, you're not. They hate you, like, as a person, so you're not going to get anything.
I watched Bill do that a couple times this weekend. I was like, oh, no.
I know. Yeah. But, that one, and then it was 12-11, because I didn't even jump on the block. I was just screaming at the down ref. And they put it away, and I was, like, freaking out. I was like, all right, whatever. But I was so mad. Like, I probably jumped, like, 10 inches higher the next 3 plays.
Swing.
Yeah, so, like, I wasn't nervous. I was just pissed off at the end of that game. So it actually, like, kind of helped. And then we had, it was, like, 14-13. And Phil ran down a high line and put it away. So we didn't go into overtime, thankfully. But that was definitely our closest match.
Yeah.
That was a great match, too. Yeah. There were some wild rallies in that.
Yeah.
Try's set out of the net is still one of the best volleyball plays I've seen in a really long time.
Yeah. I mean, that was unbelievable. Did you see Phil at the net? In the video, she just like goes like this, like fake swings, but like really casually, and then it's like a perfect set. He's like, "Oh crap!"
It's so good.
Yeah, they had a lot of really good plays during that match, and I think they were like, I mean, obviously they split block all the time, so I think them like that heat favored them too. So that was a tough matchup.
And I mean, you'd been in the semis before, and you played Try in the quarters of Atlanta, right?
Yep.
Was there, like, now that you'd been there a couple times, did it feel any less of a big stage, or was it still, okay, this has been my wall?
Yeah.
I need to break through.
No, I mean, I really wasn't focused on like what round we were in. Really, I was just kind of focused on the match, which really helped. But like last year, I definitely felt like, oh, I'm in the semis. Like, we win this, like we're in the finals.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But this one, I felt like, all right, we gotta like, break down the strategy and side out well. So I think I was a little more like focused on the actual game instead of like where I was at in the tournament.
Yeah.
Which helped a lot.
That's good.
That's awesome. Do you think that was like an experience thing, having been there?
For sure. I think especially last year in Chicago when we played Chase and Casey in the semis, we like blew them out first set, and I was like, oh, like we're gonna walk into this finals.
Yeah.
And they beat us pretty bad the second set, and then third set they took it too, and I was like, gosh, like I was thinking about like where we were in the tournament too early and stuff. And that almost happened to me again in the finals. I wasn't nervous at all during the finals. Yeah. Until we had our first match point, I was like, oh my god, we're gonna win.
Yeah.
And I go up. And I hit a ball like 2 inches out. I was like, oh, shit. And the next ball, like, we ended up winning the rally. But I told myself before the play, I was like, all right, don't do anything special. Like, put a good swing in, like, make them earn it.
Yeah.
But the first one, I tried to go like OT deep middle.
Yeah.
And I hit it out. I was like, all right, I'm not going to do that again.
Which, I mean, was a swing that had gotten you guys to the finals.
Right.
That deep seam was ridiculous. Like I don't know if anyone. I mean, I know Jordan's a big stat guy. I don't know if he's taking the time to do the stats, but that deep seam swing had to have been like an 80%er.
Yeah, it felt pretty good that tournament. Yeah, it's definitely one of my go-to swings, and I can play like the high-low game with the line chop underneath. If I know somebody's touching my high seam, like they're probably not going to be in the right position if I chop it back.
Yeah.
So.
I liked you wagging at Trevor a couple times too, and he's like, no, and you tagged the line like 3 times, and you're like, come on, I don't miss that one.
Well, one of the finger wags was to try actually, because there's a long rally, and he like swiped it off me, like was not aiming for the court, and then maybe like 7 plays later, super long rally again, almost the exact same situation. And I saw him turn, and he was facing like 20 feet out. I was like, I'm pulling my hand. So I'm not touching this thing.
Yeah.
You're good at that.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
I've been punished for it too, for sure. I remember I was playing with Adam Roberts against Paul Ottman and Gabe Ospina in 2019 in Austin, the round to get in. And it was 13-all in the third set. And Paul's right next to the intent. I was like, all right, indoor guy, like he's going to go for the swipe.
Yeah.
And I pull my hands, and he literally just like fists it like straight, goes down, and then we end up losing 15-13. I was like, it's the worst feeling in the world if you pull your hands and they don't go for it.
Yeah.
Do you think it's worse when you pull your hands and they don't, or it's better when you pull your hands and someone just full sends it?
I mean, that gratification for sure is that's the best feeling in the world.
And it's also the worst feeling as an attacker, because I go for that one all the time, and it's like, when you get it, it feels so good.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll get it, and then whenever it's weird. It was whenever I play Fallon, she's really good at seeing when I do it.
Yeah.
And she does the same thing. I try it, I miss it, and she looks at me like this. I'm like, gosh. But you kind of have to just laugh it off, because if you're the one going for it and you hit, I mean, you're hitting it like to the freaking sky when you're doing it. And I did it in Mexico, and the whole crowd was like, what? Because when people don't get volleyball, they might not know what you're
trying to do.
Yeah. But if you can see that and drop your hands, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Only a few people can see that.
I think it depends on who you're playing to. Mm-hmm. Like Taylor Crabb, never, even though he's a great indoor player, never swipes. Ever. No. And I've tried it probably 8 times on him throughout the years, and it's never worked. But if I know you played indoor, like I usually, like it's in the back of my mind before the match starts. Yeah. There was actually a guy at UCLA. You went to school with JT, right, Hatch?
Yeah.
He's the best high hand swinger I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Yeah. And
that's like probably 90% of his kills were just high hands.
He had such a cannon. And we were on the junior national team together, and I remember we were in Lake Placid. We had like this gym. The wall was like 30 feet back, and I knew out of system, like he was going for it, and I'd go up and pull, and he would hit like 40 feet up the wall, like so far out. And I told him, I was like, in college, like if you try to go high hands, I'm gonna do it in a game. You're gonna look really stupid. I never got him in game though. That was my biggest disappointment from indoor.
Were you in college with him the whole time? Were you guys the same year?
He was 1 year below me, I think.
Okay, yeah, because I was with him for 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a really gnarly player.
Yeah.
He's really good.
And the thing with Taylor is I think that like a lot of guys will see the court really well, but I think that no one sees blockers' hands better than Taylor. He'll just hang. As soon as you move just a little bit this way, he'll just chop it away from you.
Yeah.
And if you ever drop, he just like pounds it.
Yeah, it's going straight down.
Just his arm is so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, the way he comes in too, like he is so open. I mean, he's got to have like shoulder problems or something, right? The way his arm moves like doesn't make sense.
It's crazy.
Like, physiologically.
Him and the other one that gets me is TJ DeFalco's shoulder.
Yeah.
I watched that and I'm like, that is so violent.
Yeah. Yeah.
He hits it so hard.
I think TJ has the fastest arm in the world right now.
I would not doubt that.
Yeah.
Because he's for real.
Yeah. He's got a fast arm. We tried him a couple times when we played him last year. When he was playing with Nick.
Yeah.
and he was just hammering balls. All right, we're not going to touch him anymore.
Do you think he's going to try and transition out here, play beach?
I mean, it's hard to give up however much he's making and
fair enough.
And wherever he's playing. Where is he? Italy?
I think he's in Poland.
Poland this year. I used to watch his Italian team last year. They were so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all young, undersized, and they were beating like Perugia, who had like all-world team.
Yeah.
They were really fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, I know we had him on the podcast after he played in Manhattan, and he was like, "I'm going to play beach. I don't know when, but he's kind of like Micah Ma, where he could come back and play beach whenever he wants, but he loves indoor. TJ loves indoor and loves the physicality of it, and I think he's starting to recognize that, you know, on the U.S. national team, it's going to go from like a really old team to a really young team pretty fast, just with like Reed and David and Matt Anderson and all those guys like starting to move out. So TJ is like going to be kind of the leader of that team pretty soon, and so I think he sees indoor like sure shot to Paris, pretty likely shot to LA, and then I think he'd probably come back after that. But I know he wants to play it. I remember during COVID, because he was just stuck somewhere overseas, and then he was like, "What am I doing? Why don't I come back to the beach?" I'm sure it doesn't seem like you have many regrets.
Oh, I wasn't getting paid as much as him. If I was getting paid as much as him, I'd probably have some regrets.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But it looks like, I mean, you're like super healthy. Like when we were practicing today, like you just look strong.
Yeah.
Like it seems like you've kind of like remodeled yourself coming into this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think partnering with Nick was huge. I mean, obviously there's so much stuff you can do to get yourself in a good position to compete. But I think until you have like a teammate that's doing it all, it's like, oh, like shit, like I got to get on my game. Yeah. And Nick, I think Nick and Tri are the hardest workers in the U.S. right now on the men's side. I know April like works really hard on the women's side. But just like seeing his, not only like the lifting, like obviously he's lifting a bunch of weight, but like his diet, the way he times his meals, his like rest and recovery, he'll do, he'll roll out for like an hour and then stretch and then do an ice bath and sauna, like back and forth for like an hour. Jeez. So like his preparation to the game, I think was really eye-opening. I think it's like stuff that we all know, but until you like see someone do it like firsthand, you're like, oh wow, like he's really committed. So that's been a really positive influence on my game. And getting in the USA gym too helped a lot. Like their staff has helped me. I have horrible form for weightlifting. So Christian, who's gone now, helped me a lot during the off season. Now Miles is helping me. But yeah, I think the first 4 years I was playing on the beach, I was so scared to like lift heavy just because I knew my form was bad and I got injured in college. And I had a lot of like bad habits in the weight room that I needed somebody to watch me to fix my form. So I think like all those things coming together and then partnering with Nick, like I think everything just kind of aligned. Yeah.
What are some of the specific changes that you've made? Either just like you mentioned diet, like what workouts you're adding, like what's been super effective for you? So obviously there are many things that are working well.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think definitely like I'm eating more like natural foods. I remember we had this conversation a couple years ago about the oatmeal. Yeah. Like I was eating so much oatmeal, mostly because I was poor. And I was just like, all right, that's a lot of calories, like oatmeal and peanut butter. But I started eating like more fruit. I'd do like a smoothie in the morning with protein powder. And then I've been eating a lot of like healthier meats. Like I'd be like, oh, I'll go to In-N-Out. Like, that has a lot of calories. That's healthy. That's not healthy. I took Sam Pedlow's favorite meal. I make that a decent amount. What's that? He gets rice, and then he does ground beef and taco seasoning and puts, like, vegetables in it. He, like, makes his own Chipotle bowl. I'm not kidding. He ate that, I think, every single day for the 3 weeks he was living in Florida. I can't do that, but I've been like adding more things to my diet. I've been eating a lot of like red meat too.
Yeah.
I think that's helped like put on weight. And then I was taking creatine earlier, which I figured taking the creatine, like I knew my weight was going to shoot up, but I figured it'd drop back down.
Yeah.
But it kind of sustained.
Really?
So yeah, I stopped taking it probably a month and a half ago.
Okay.
And my weight kind of sustained where it was, which I was surprised by.
Yeah. And your fighting weight, is that 215?
215
Yeah.
right now, yeah. I think last year I was probably around 200.
Okay.
So I put on a lot of weight, which was scary because I thought, back injuries might put some more load on it, but I felt great. I think as long as I take care of, like, the stretching and recovery stuff, like,
Yeah.
I think it was a good weight to
Yeah.
play at.
I feel like it depends. You can be like 200 and 215, but the complexion of your weight can be so different.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're 215, but like you're pretty solid muscle at this point.
I feel leaner than I was last year.
Yeah.
So.
You look like you're like cut up, you're big, like.
Thanks, man.
Me and Tim, when we were watching, I was like, that looks like a totally different Andy Benesh from like 2019.
Yeah.
You've like evolved.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think, just like committing to it, and, if I get injured or something, then I can adjust from there. But I think just like going all in to the weight stuff, like I was kind of like in and out, like a little scared to hop back on the train.
Yeah.
And I think when we were playing probably like 3 years ago, I told you like I don't believe in weightlifting.
Yeah.
Which I'm getting more sold on. But yeah, it's definitely been like more of a mental transition than like the physical one.
Yeah.
Just like fully committing to it.
Yeah.
So
it's cool. And it's cool because like you've been surrounded by so many veterans of the game. You played with A-Rob, who was like the launching pad for talented blockers. Right. And Lord knows, like you and I both know that A-Rob leaves no stone unturned with his health and whatever. So like I know that he probably showed you a lot. And then Billy's been a veteran for a long time. He's not like the crazy intense competitor, and Nick is. Yeah. And then when you were in Florida, Phil, you trained a lot with him. I'm sure you picked his brain, and Jason Lockhead and whoever. Like it's cool that like a lot of people are surrounded by greats in this sport, but not a lot of people actually take the lessons, internalize them, and then execute on them. And it seems like you're doing that.
Right. Yeah. I heard a quote. I don't remember who said it, but it was like, assume the person you're talking to like knows something that you don't, even if it's some random guy that doesn't watch beach volleyball, and he comes up to you and he's like, oh, like you guys missed a lot of serves. You're like, yeah, you're probably right. I probably shouldn't miss so many serves. So I think you can learn. Obviously, it's easier to take advice from people that have been there and done that, but just like having an open mind, not being so dogmatic into what you're doing, like, oh, this is the right way. Like you really don't know until you try everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I feel like Sab, you're probably on kind of a similar thing. Your first like year or two out of the UCLA bubble where you had the coaches, the trainers, the nutrition. Like, what have you kind of figured out for yourself, or are you like, what kinds of stuff like are you experimenting with?
And like it's interesting because like same thing with you in college. Like you have all the resources and you have your coaches and your strength coach. There's like that's the right way to do it, and you have to buy in, or you're going to be absolutely miserable and you're probably not going to play. So you buy into it, and thankfully for me, we had Stein and Jenny. They were very easy to buy into, and we had the success to back it up. So that was super easy for me. And I was literally talking to Evan about this today, just about like this whole, how this process, I haven't played really with a veteran. So like last year was like me and Megan Kraft, or me and Abby, who were still in college. Right. And now it's me and Tony, who are just out of college, and we have, I would be lying if I said we had a clue of what's going on. Like, I mean, especially me. Like, I don't know anything I don't know what the right thing is for me, because everyone has a different. I talked to you right before I graduated about like everyone's journey is a bit different, and so it's been an interesting transition for me because you have to, figure out what works best for you, and I haven't had that person. But we started working with Jen Snyder, who
nice
very recently, within the last couple of weeks, and her biggest thing it's I mean, I have so much to work on the court, but her biggest thing right now is like like you said, taking care of yourself off the court. Like, she stresses so much because we're going to Lithuania in a couple weeks. Like, we're going to be on the road for like 3 weeks in a row. She's like, you have to bring a foam roller. You have to bring a lacrosse ball. You have to be feeling well. You have to be hydrated. And that's like her biggest thing. And she's making me show up 30 minutes before practice. I'd show up 5 minutes before practice, throw 3 balls. And I feel like I'm young and I'm fine. I can get away with that. But we're at such a high level now where, I can't rely on my athletic ability to be successful. Like, I'm getting exposed a little bit. And like, I felt it in Austin a little bit where like, all the things I was able to do in college when I was, I needed to side out, they don't work anymore. Like, and you have to, in La Paz, I had an eye-opening experience. Like, you don't get served a single ball, and then you have set point. We were up 2017, and they served me, and we lost the set. And I didn't have a coach there. I was playing with Megan Gebhard. She's not very experienced either, and so I didn't have anyone to coach me through that, but I learned so much. And so instead of learning from a veteran, I'm learning through trial and error, which is really frustrating. Yeah. But it's a part of the process. And me and Tony are in the same boat, which is great. And Jen's been really helpful. But I wonder what it would be like if I paired with a veteran, how quickly I would progress. But that's how I feel when I train with Jen. I feel like she knows a lot, and I'm sure so many coaches do. But she's been really helpful in trying to transform our game different. It's mostly a mindset thing. Most of it is mindset and off the court stuff. All the on the court stuff is little tweaks here and there.
And you kind of already know what
I know exactly what I need to work on, and it's a lot of stuff. But the biggest thing is the mental side of the game, or the preparation in between games, and making sure I'm eating the right things in between games, and not eating oatmeal packets because I eat oatmeal all the time, stuff like that. And Evan's been great with the fueling thing. He loves to cook, and we've been eating pretty good. But I used to go in and out all the time, and drink a beer with dinner, and then it was 3 or 4 beers, and then I recover terrible. You just don't realize that this is perfect. So you learn a lot, but I'm in a little bit of a different situation where I'm kind of going trial and error. So,
well, I will say the trial and error, it hurts a lot more, but you definitely remember it.
Yeah.
You definitely remember it.
I've had some haunting memories that I literally lose sleep over, and it sucks, but hopefully I go to San Antonio, and hopefully we qualify for New Orleans, and when I get served on match point or set point, the court isn't as small as it seems when you're getting served on set point.
Yeah.
It's just another point.
Another point. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, pairing with, I think you had a good experience with Billy, and he was a veteran, so that, I've never done it. So what was it like pairing with Billy and then pairing with someone like Nick, and then all of a sudden pairing with someone like Phil? Are you shitting yourself? Oh my gosh, I better perform? Or is it more exciting, or both? What was that experience like for you?
I think actually last year playing with Billy was really, really helpful in terms of understanding your role with your partner. Obviously I'm younger than all 3 of those guys. I remember the first tournament I played with Billy was at Cancun country quota. We had to fly down there. Mm-hmm. And I played horrible. Yeah. I was like, shit, he's gonna drop me. Yeah. And he stuck with me, and we talked to John Mayer was coaching us, so we talked with John Mayer and a sports psychologist, Peter. And I think for that tournament, I thought of Billy as so much farther ahead of me, which he was on paper, he was. But at that point, we're a team, so it's not really he's gonna carry me the entire time. I got to pick up my weight and be able to do it. So that was a really helpful experience, and then being able to play the rest of the season with Billy and grow as a team. I love playing with Billy. Yeah. Billy's definitely one of my favorite partners. Mm-hmm. Such a nice guy, very surprisingly very fiery on the court.
You wouldn't think, but I met him in Puerto Vallarta, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
So funny.
I think he's the funniest guy on tour. Yeah. He's so funny. Yeah. But I think, and then pairing with Nick, it's kind of the same thing as he's been in the Olympics. I remember the first 5 or 10 practices. I was pretty nervous. Yeah. just to like show that he made the right decision, you know.
Yeah.
With Phil, it was different because it was like, all right, sweet, like we get a split block.
Yeah.
Like we're not supposed to do that well. Even though like I was like, all right, I'm playing with like the best player of all time. If we lose, like it's not Phil's fault. You know? But I wasn't really coming at it from that approach. I was like, all right, we get to like figure out the chess match.
Well, you had no time to prepare, so you kind of had nothing to lose.
True.
Like,
Very true.
Yeah.
And I think like there's definitely partners that put more pressure on you just through like body language or whatever, like little comments.
Way
but
to communicate,
right.
Yeah.
But like I feel like I've gotten past the point of like putting people on a pedestal, either people you're playing with or people you're playing against. And I really do think like playing with Billy kind of opened my mind to that part of the game. Is everyone's the same once you get out there. Usually, I mean, I think the better you are, it's hard to stay on top of the mountain. Like you have more pressure if you're the 1 seed, you're playing a 16 seed. Like, I mean, I feel like the 1 seeds get nervous.
Yeah.
Because it's like, all right, we cannot get upset.
You have nothing to gain.
Right.
Yeah.
You have nothing to gain.
If you win, then congratulations, you beat the 16. And if you lose, it's like, well, what just happened to you guys?
Yep.
Right.
You know, I remember Mike Krzyzewski because Duke basketball, they rarely schedule just tune-up games.
Yeah.
And people asked him why. He's like, what do we have to benefit from that?
Right.
Because if we beat, Sisters of the Blind,
Yeah.
like, what are we doing? Like, what do we gain from that?
Right.
If we lose, then we have everything to lose. And so the 1 seeds, I think you're absolutely right. It's how I feel in like a CBVA or like an AVP Next.
Yeah.
When you're playing, you're like the 1 seed in your pool and you're playing the 4, you're like, these are two pretty athletic guys.
Yeah.
They could catch a heater from the service line and we could lose. And like, I'm like, damn it, I just want to play a really good team.
Yeah. So it's not as bad if you lose, right?
Right.
100%.
You get that thoughts in your head.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I think, like I played a bunch of those Florida tournaments.
Yeah.
And like it was like me and Logan, like one of us should win the tournament.
Yeah.
But you lose to any other teams. It's like, oh, like you suck, dude.
Right.
And the Florida guys will let you know.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They'll let you know.
They're loud. I like the Florida culture.
Me too.
Man, like it's loud, it's brash, and then it's when it's over, everyone's like, "Hey man, you want to get a drink?"
Yeah.
It's great. Like everyone's friends in like that brotherly way where you can like talk shit, and then 5 minutes later you're like, "Oh, hey man, what are you doing tonight?"
As long as you can separate them. I remember the first time I played Brad.
I was gonna say Brad Connors. I was literally just gonna say that.
I love Brad.
The first time I played, sorry.
You're good.
The first time I played Brad, he was playing with John Justice, and I was playing with Eric Baranek, and they were talking so much shit. And like we went on a run, and we like I think we won like the last 8 points of the game. Like we just started murdering them and talking back. And I was like, oh, these guys are probably going to fight us after. And Brad like came up, and he's like the nicest guy ever.
You want a rumpy?
Yeah, exactly. You want a rumpy. And like ever since then, like I've been friends with Brad. Brad's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
And like once he gets in the tournament, like that's just who he is on the court, And that it works for him.
Yeah.
He definitely gets some guys with that that approach. Like I've seen people melt down against him because they like,
especially the Californians.
yes,
They melt.
Right.
When Brad Connor starts opening his mouth, I'm like, oh man, give me some popcorn. I'm ready for this one. It is hysterical.
Yeah.
The thing about, guys like Brad is that you know where you stand with Brad.
right.
He's just going to tell you how it is, no matter what he wants to say.
100%.
Like, I appreciate your candor, Bradley.
Yeah. You never have to guess what's going on in his mind. He's a straight shooter for sure.
It's so funny. It's like Jake McNeil, so in the movie that we shot in Bulgaria, he had to play basically Brad Connors.
Yeah.
Where he was just loud and brash and just bouncing balls and letting people know it. And Jake, before like he would shoot the movie, he'd tell the guys, I don't mean any of this.
Yeah.
And 3 guys walked off set. They couldn't handle it.
Dude, I was talking to him
No
and
way. I literally talked to him this weekend about it. And he's like, I had to play the bad guy the whole movie. I didn't know he was in the movie with you.
Yeah.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
hilarious.
he was talking. Yeah, I talked to him about it in Thailand. They showed me the trailer. I don't think it's officially released yet.
Yeah.
But what was his line? It was like, basically like, you suck, get off the court, and like telling him he's bald and stuff. I was like, Jesus, Jake, like, that was too much.
Dude, he let it rip. And the CEO of the studio was like, you can't, because they just let us go. Yeah. They, like, most of the volleyball stuff, they're like, write your own script, do whatever.
Yeah.
And so when we were playing, it was just, like, totally unscripted. And your Reef Lerner, the CEO, he's like, no one can script this.
Yeah.
So this is incredible.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's saying. He's like, I come off set and they're like, that was great. That was perfect.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like in the corner, like all pissed off. He's like, well, what do you want me to do?
Oh my gosh.
But speaking of Thailand, hell of a finish there too, coming out of quali.
Yeah.
And you guys, like, so the futures, you never really know what you get with the futures or like what was formerly a One Star. Mm-hmm. That was not a weak tournament.
No.
Like that was strong. You guys played a really good team in the qualifier. I was looking at the bracket. I was like, man, that's not friendly.
That Austrian team?
Austrian team's good.
They were really good, yeah.
You played Kindle?
Yeah.
He has one of the craziest arms I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think everyone we played an Israel team first round that was really good, like really physical.
Was that Ohana and Elazer?
I don't remember their names.
They're good. They're their ones. If it was their ones, which I think it was.
Is that the blonde? It's not the blonde guy.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember their names. But yeah, we played a lot of really good teams in that tournament, but it was like, dude, Austin was probably 20 degrees colder than it was in Thailand.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I was at Austin. I was like, this is like.
Yeah.
I literally wasn't hot like during any of the matches.
Oh,
my
awesome.
gosh.
So I think like having that tournament as preparation was big. But I would say probably 2 people a day just straight up died on the court.
Yeah.
Like you would watch them, third set would happen. It was like someone would go up 2-0 and they're like, all right, that guy just gave up. Like you could literally see them give up. It was crazy. And people were like hiding behind the ref stand during the side switches.
Yeah.
Like it was so hot.
That's how Cuba was similar, where you could just see the give up happen.
Right.
And it was crazy because there were really good teams who were losing to objectively terrible teams.
Yeah.
Because they just could not stand the heat.
Yeah.
And we played this Puerto Rican team that ended up beating Logan and Tim in the quarters. We played them in the quarterfinals, and they were they had nothing left.
Yeah.
No gas in the tank. They just stopped trying.
Yeah.
And they gave up. And I was like, well, now this is just annoying. They kept calling medicals and stalling.
Yeah.
And I just wanted the match to be done. But, like, you could see teams just, like, throwing in the towel.
Yeah. Just, like, very visibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our semifinal, it was just a race to the bottom between me and Bogue of who was going to melt down first. Because after, like, we were up, like, 8-6 in the second, and Hagen figured it out, and he was like, we just need to melt him down. And so it was just like short, deep, and I was like,
Oh my gosh.
Tim,
Need some help.
And Tim was phenomenal. Probably the best match he's played.
Yeah.
Just carried me all the way through.
That's
It
awesome.
was just me or Bogue who's going to die.
That's so funny. Those are the worst tournaments. Like, I don't understand how they, like, every tournament you play in, it's like the hottest weekend for that region. It's like, how you guys
Or it's
planning this?
raining.
Or it's pouring rain. Yeah.
Like last year, I felt like I played at every tournament when it was raining.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the world is going on?
World Tour, you'll get rain everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, did it rain in Thailand? Was it pretty good?
I don't think it rained during any of the matches. It might have rained like for 30 minutes a day, but it was usually later in the day,
Okay.
like after.
Yeah.
But it was humid. It was really humid.
Yeah.
It's crazy. No wind until the finals.
I would say that's nice, but that's terrible.
Yeah.
Because when
Yeah,
it
you
was
need a
still in
breeze.
Cuba, I was like, oh, please, God, just a
know.
little breath.
Just
I would literally go to the box. I have like 2 waters and just pour them on my head.
yeah.
And I'd yell up and down, like, we need more waters. Every single batch.
He looked at this graveyard of bottles. Like, what are you doing?
What?
But you played what, like three tournaments? You played Mexico,
Played
Thailand,
Mexico, Thailand, and
Austin?
Austin. Yeah.
Okay. It's so funny to see, like, I was talking to Casey Patterson the other day, and Austin was his first tournament of the year. And he was like, how many have you played? It's like, 10.
That's crazy.
It's funny. So you're pretty much like kind of 3 for 3 because you beat a pretty good Portuguese team in Mexico. Who'd you end up losing to?
Australian team.
Oh, McHugh and Burnett. Man, they're hot right now.
Dude, they were playing well. McHugh played well, and Burnett, dude, he was swinging at like 11-6 as hard as he could.
Yeah.
I was like, we got to serve McHugh. Like, he's swinging too high. And it was such a bummer. Like, we got, I think it was overtime in the first set, like 27 all. And then I touched the ball Nick like put it up. I like did a backwards pokey, and they called me over.
Oh.
And after I watched the replay, I definitely like finished over. I don't know if I contacted it over, but like I finished my arm over the net. And Nick was going off on the ref, and then they were serving me the entire time, and they served Nick, and he got sand monstered.
Oh, I remember seeing that one. It was like brutal.
And then they played really well the second set. Like they definitely deserved to win that second set, but that first set was like a killer for the momentum.
Yeah.
That's a good team though.
They were playing well.
Because they won Asian champs. They beat Sharif and Ahmed, and that was when Sharif and Ahmed were like on top of the world.
Yeah.
And the World Tour's been interesting. There's been a lot of shuffling because Anders has only played Rosarito, Anders and Christian, and they're technically like number 6 in the world, which is funny. And then Sharif and Ahmed got upset by the Grimalts in Doha.
I just watched that.
And things are changing. The World Tour is getting
more parity.
The freaking Netherlands, man.
Yeah,
they are stacked.
Yeah, they got like 4 teams that are like legit.
Watching you and Phil, I was like, is that Barenhorst and Vandeveld out there?
We were like when I found out I was gonna play with Phil, I was watching some film like on the defenders. I was like, all right, who's like most similar? I watched like some Vandeveld and Barenhorst. I watched Andre and Ivandro when they played together. Yeah. But I was watching them, I was like, dude, these guys aren't moving on defense at all. So I like went back to watching Sorum. I was like, I'm just gonna do what Sorum does. It might not be as good, but he baits way better.
Yeah.
And so that's who I was trying to like pretend to be, like the hop, like sit in the seam, hop and stay, or hop and go.
Yep.
But like we played with the seam so much, like there's a couple times I straight up couldn't even see the attacker.
Really?
Like if they would have hit it over Phil, like if it would have gone through Phil, I would not have gotten it. Yeah. But I think every single time I did that, like he got the block. And I was just like crouching down there. It was pretty fun.
It's hard to hide you.
Yeah.
You're a big boy to hide back there.
I mean, Phil's a big boy too.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think that the men's side is just starting to change that way, where not that defenders are irrelevant, but that their value is starting to decrease just with how physical like the game is getting?
I mean, for the World Tour, for sure. If you watch the men's side, it's probably they swing 80% of the time.
I think because Jordan, like huge stats guy, he said it's like the elite teams are a 70-30 at minimum.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think for sure, like the blocker is the big difference. I would say on the women's side, the defenders, the big difference, unless you have like a huge blocker like Alex or Sarah, that is just like so imposing that it's like taking away some of the regular shots. But for the men's game, like I do think like side out still king, and then point scoring, like it's gonna be blocks, aces, errors, or like if you pick up maybe like 3 or 4 balls a set, you have to convert on all of them.
Yeah.
And I think like the top teams in the world, other than, I mean, Ahmed's still he's like 6'5".
Yeah, I mean he's taller than I am.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah.
It's so funny. If you look up his height on Google, it's like 6'1". And Sharif's 6'3". I was like, dude, that is not true.
No way.
You look it up after this. It's so funny. But yeah, like I would say he's like probably the best defender in the world right now. And like, I mean, obviously he's really quick, but every time he picks up the ball, like he's going to put it away.
Yeah.
So I think that is where the game's heading. But I think there's still like space there for like a smaller guy. You just have to be like lights out for side out and have a good serve to be able to put them in trouble.
Yeah, because you look at the best teams in the world, and they're just monsters. Yeah. You know, you have a Christian, and York de Groot is phenomenal. But even he's 6'3", 6'4". He's
same with Soren.
And Soren's big. 6'4". And then so I look at like Taylor Crabb, and he just has to work so much harder to score. And it's been funny to see this balance because it went like for a while when Phil got on tour, he was like the biggest dude. Yeah. And then the Russians, it was like 7-footer, and then everyone went huge and a little, and now it's like a little smaller and a little bigger. Yeah. So you have like all these 6'8", 6'6" teams. Like I feel like Brouwer Musen were ahead of their time. Yeah. They started in 2011. Yeah. And now everyone's just like a Brouwer Musen clone. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I wonder if the U.S. will like start to go that way too. I mean, there's not a lot of big defenders. Other than Kame.
Yeah.
And then obviously Troy and Trevor.
Yeah, and Troy's I would put Troy in that class.
Troy's physical too. He might be like, what, 6'4"?
Yeah.
But, I mean, he plays like he's 6'6".
He plays
6'7".
high.
Yeah.
In Austin, he played real high.
Dude, he played lights out. I talked to him after the game. He's like, I get you OT. I was like, you got me OT like 4 or 5 times. Yeah.
Looked like you got just a little tight at the end of that first set.
I know. Well, that's why I started going to him still. I was like, it's whatever, 19 all. I was like, I'm going to serve Troy.
Yeah.
Because if I was in their position, I would have served me.
Yeah. Exactly.
But he definitely, like, I don't know, he was hitting really well. In the end of that set, he had a cut shot out, I think, and then he hit a cut shot right into Phil's hands. And he just changed. I mean, Phil was at the net. Like, I understand why he changed what he was doing. But, I mean, if he would have just swung as hard as he could, as high as he could, probably would have worked.
Yeah. But I think the women's side, too, because I was talking to Delaney about it, and she was just looking at players who have gotten thirds on the AVP. And she's like, why do you think I haven't gotten a third on the AVP? And I think on the women's side, there's such a huge difference a big gap between the Tier 1 teams and the Tier 2s. And I think it is the teams with the big blockers.
Yeah.
Because you have Alex Pavin, and now you have
Kelly.
Katya Stam, Kelly Clays, Cheng. And then there's a big dip down into like the shorter blockers. Like, I mean, Delaney's 5'9", and I think she is a really good blocker. I was like, if you do want to take a third, I feel like you just got to find a giant and a really good physical blocker. And I think that's why, I think you and Tony, young as you guys are, I think you guys have such a bright future because Tony is she has such good hands.
Such a good blocker.
I'm so impressed with her as a blocker.
She's such a good blocker.
And
I had a shitty game in
Yeah.
Austin, and I'm like, oh my god, she's gonna leave me. She's gonna ditch me. Because I had one bad game, and I'm like, because she's a hot commodity right now. I mean, she still is like learning so much, and she's working so hard, and she's gotten good so fast. Like I'm so excited to see how she does, and I feel like my defense has gotten like tremendously better this season, and I think it's because I'm playing behind her.
Yeah.
And like. I've stopped watching the ball and I'm watching the attacker now, so I'm reading a lot more. But then she touches almost everything, and she's like digging a hard-driven ball is so easy because I don't have to move. Mm-hmm. And almost every time I turn to her, if it's a close game, and I go give me a block, and I give her like ball. I'm like, go grab the ball.
Yeah.
99% of the time she gets a block.
Yeah.
And I think she needs that like. And I tell her, I'm like, do whatever you want. Half the time, I'm like, I don't care what you do. Just, like, go get the ball. Yeah. Like, you're blocking the hit, and I'm just going to run down the shots if I'm feeling like I can read stuff.
Yeah.
And I try and give her the freedom to do whatever, but when I look at her and I give her the green light to go she goes and gets a block.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and I think it's helped me a ton. And it takes a lot of stress off. Like, we'll go down 3 or 4 points. We, for some reason, like to do that. We'll go down, like, 3 or 4 points. We were down 14-8 against Sarah and Therese. We came back and won 21-19, 18 or 19.
Jeez, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we just got to run. She blocked some, and I just was kind of freed up to, like, go run down shots and just be kind of a spaz like I like to be. Just roll around in the sand a little bit, and she's been working, it's exciting. I'm excited to see where she goes and hopefully where we go together because how tall is Tony? 6'2" or 3"? She's not that tall, but she plays
huge,
really big.
Yeah.
And she's getting really good at her lineups and her hand placements, and it just makes my life.
That's what I think. Her hands are so dynamic. Watching her in Australia, I was like, damn, like these are good moves.
She gets like at least 3 blocks like a set.
Yeah.
Like she gets so many blocks, and then she touches a ton of high line shots too.
Right.
Like so, it's exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're hoping someone like Taryn too. Her and Kristen are. I mean. She's such a force up there, and then Kristen just like
6'4".
runs around and digs every single shot that there is because she's so smart and she's so quick.
Yeah.
And then she's so good. I was working on it today. My one-handed touches, they're not good enough. They're just not good enough. And I literally look up Kristen, like I literally watch her one-handed because she's so comfortable. I want to be on my feet all the time, and I want to get up and I want to hit like a low transition set, but. Yeah. She's so comfortable digging with one hand, and I'm always like swinging, trying to redirect it to my to the blockers at the net, and she just is like,
little touch.
it's perfect. So I was working on it today, and I was so bad at it. I'm like, why is this so hard? Tony was better than me. We were doing like a one-handed little pepper thing, and she was so much better than me. I'm like, why do I suck at this? It's just another thing added to the list of like things that I'm not good at. But yeah, and so Taryn and Chris, I mean, obviously they won. They're incredible. So that's a team that I'm excited to see how they do, and I'm excited. I wanted to compete. I hope I play against them. I hope I qualify for New Orleans, and I hope I get to play against them because that'll be Tony's from Baton Rouge as well, so that would be a super fun matchup in their hometown. And they're obviously so talented as well. So I think it is evolving to more of like the big blocker, and as a defender, I mean, it makes it so much easier as a defender to run around back there.
Yeah, you know for sure, like, you have to take this sliver, and then if they go high over there, like, whatever the blocker might touch, you can run that down.
You run it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And it's fun. When you mentioned, like, when you say, like, go get a ball, like, Tony will get a lot of blocks. Yeah. As a blocker, I think it's funny. Like, A-Rob would always tell me, just get the fucking ball.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Dude, I get fired up. If my defender gives me a ball, you're one of the rare defenders that just gives a straight ball block. Like, usually I'm calling it by myself, like, double ball block behind my back. They're like, no, change it.
I call a ball. Now it's either ball or I give her, like, we serve out of the middle and just go here. Like, we're again, we're playing with a lot of different things. We're still a pretty new pair. Like, we're still trying to figure out where we want our sets. Like, there's so much that we're trying to figure out. But I look at her, and it's less about line angle now. Like, we run way less 4s and 3s than we used to. Sometimes, we mix that in. I think it's good to mix everything in. But a lot of it is just, like, go grab the ball. Yeah. And based on where the set is, I still have to make a, we're still moving to different places. If someone runs a back set, it changes things a little bit. But I feel like that's underused. I mean, you don't see that much. But I haven't played against Pavin. I haven't played against, Alex. I've played against Taryn a couple of times, but I still think Taryn goes really high sometimes. Yeah. And if she's getting really good at going over, and if she continues doing that, she's going to be such an incredible blocker. But I don't think enough people just go balling. You know who does a really good job at it? Carly Kahn. And she's 5'9"
She's good at everything.
9 or 10.
Amazing.
And she just goes, and she's so good with her hands. And so I think it's, if you can be a really good disciplined blocker with your hands, you can be good, but it's tough for someone like Delaney, she doesn't have the size, so it's hard. But would she defend? Would she like to defend? Yeah, well, I mean, all of her biggest successes have been as a defender. Mm-hmm. I mean, she beat Mel and Pav in the New York qualifier as a defender. She won the USA Queen of the Beach thing as well. I mean, in pool play, she did whatever, but then she picked up Kelly Clays and ended up winning, and then won a gold medal with Therese last year as a defender. And I was like, there's a pretty good trend here.
Yeah. Hey, maybe the women's side is gonna go that way too. Just keep getting bigger and bigger defenders.
Yeah. I mean, it's looking that way. Yeah. I mean, well, the defenders, I don't know. I feel like are still not big, but the blockers. Like, that's, like, I feel like the clear delineation between the elite teams. Yeah, just huge. When you have the big blockers, and you look at, I mean, Kelly Kalinsky, I feel like is almost getting on the undersized part for those Elite 16 teams. She's like 6'2". Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. What are you working on right now? Like, what parts of your game are you trying to develop?
I mean, I think same thing with Savvy. Like, I have a lot to work on.
There's a long checklist,
I've really been trying to add like a chop, like a cut shot, but more of like a chop than like a cut shot.
Like a dart?
More of a dart, yeah. Which I was trying to work on it a little bit today. Yeah. But it didn't go very well. I think I have like... See, the problem is I get into a game situation, like I know it's going to work. But there's definitely times when I play teams, especially the top teams, like they'll get me in a trap, like whatever, they serve me a certain way and they drag me towards like for where my approach isn't like where I'm comfortable, and like just like adding new tools for my side out game just to be able to use like if I get stuck in one of those situations. Because last couple of years, like, if you blocked me high, I was still just gonna the next one I was still gonna try to go OT. But I think like adding more tools to be able to work with, like when I get trapped in a game, and then Serving was a big focus. I'm still working on the serving a lot. I think just like being deceptive with the shoulders. You do a really good job of that, I think. Like facing one way and then like hitting, like you do the corner to corner and you do the inside out into the seam. And it's so hard to see because like it doesn't really look like it's going at either person.
Yeah.
Because it's the spin's taken away from the left sider and then, but it doesn't get all the way to the right sider.
You don't have a lot of heat. You gotta get creative.
But like I think you do a really good job of like being deceptive from the service line. I think past years like I knew where I was gonna serve and I would go like very over the top.
Yeah.
And just like being able to spin the ball different ways to like create new angles. And then obviously blocking, like I think like timing is still like my biggest thing. Like if I feel good on the timing and my eye work's good, like I feel like I'm really good. But it's so hard to get yourself into that zone, even if you know like all right, don't watch the ball, like jump after they jump. You just get caught up in like, oh, am I in the right spot, like the lineup, and then like, oh, I wasn't even thinking about it, like I forgot again. Yeah. And then like you'll do that like 7 points in a row. It's like, all right, gotta focus. So I think like really just like simplifying the blocking for myself and like only having like one or two things to think about. That's like I think I would still say I'm probably 3 or 4 years away from like putting everything together, which is exciting. But I also know like I just have to be patient with it, like not to put too much pressure and like get super mad in practice or whatever when I'm not executing. So.
Yeah, it's cool to see that you're like acknowledging that time frame because I feel like a lot of people. There's this great saying where it's everyone overestimates how much they can accomplish in 1 year and underestimates what they can do in 10.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool for you to see that long game. Like in 3 or 4 years, I'll be a lot more complete of a player.
Right.
And it's also really cool that you are working on all these things and developing and acknowledging that you're developing and still winning an AVP and taking a silver medal in an FIVB. Like it's super cool to see you not only like being like, I'm going to accept these growing pains, with a lot of success as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the success wasn't expected, definitely. But, like, I think I'm more of I think everyone would say their growth mindset, but whether they actually are or not, right? But I judge, like, even after the Austin tournament, I was thinking about it, like I could have played a lot better. Like, I think I made too many hitting errors. I didn't really like serve that well. I served like with pressure, but I wasn't like getting what John Mayer calls a knockout, like just them fully out of system. So I think like having that approach to every tournament, like no matter whether I win or lose this game, it's not gonna make a difference. Like I'm still the same player at the end of the end of the game. Like I'm gonna have stuff to work on, and using that just as like an experience to be like, all right, go back to the lab, and this is what I need to work on. And just keep adding things. And also, I think, like, playing against great players, like, stealing stuff from them, like, oh, that made me really uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, I steal a lot from Theo. I stole a lot from Jake and Phil. Obviously, it's, like, my version, so it probably doesn't look the same. But, like, it's been cool to be around, like, so many great blockers and them to be open. And Chase, too. Chase Bunninger actually I train with him a lot during the off season, and he gives me tips, and it's been really helpful, like, just, like, hearing what they have to say, their different perspectives. So yeah.
I think Chase is secretly one of the most supportive dudes on tour.
Yeah.
Like, he texted me, like, right after me and Tim played in Brazil. He was, like, texting me, like, review of the game. Yeah. He's like, dude, like, you were so close in here and there, and he'll just, like, I talked to him about what he does to jump high, and he, like, gave me, like, full workout. Yeah. And I think Chase is, like, quietly, like, one of the best guys, because he doesn't really have, like, social media presence, like, isn't out there a lot. Right. And so people don't really know, like, what a good, solid dude Chase Bunninger is. He's awesome.
I agree.
He got on the plane after Austin, and we were, like, a ton of people were on, like, this evening flight back to L.A., and me, Tony, and Evan got the exit row, and like we were saving it for Tony. Like she really wanted it, and we wanted to sit next to her. And Chase came by right behind Tony, and Tony's like, "Do you want to sit here? Like you're taller than me. Like I can give you the seat." And he goes, "It was after he lost you." He goes, "I just don't deserve it." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so." But like, it was it showed how much like he was never like pointing the finger at Troy, or it was like he felt like he could have done better, and so that though that small thing just showed how good of a guy he is, how supportive he is, how well he wants to do, like stuff like that. Like, so as sad as it sounded, it was kind of cool to hear though. I was like, wow, I mean, that's wild.
Yeah. I think Chase gets a bad rap for sure. Like, I think he's a quiet guy and he's shy, like I am, and like whatever he definitely like sometimes goes after his partners in practice, but usually in game, like he's pretty good about like, all right, I'm focused on myself. But yeah, I think he gets a bad rap. He's a super nice guy, and like, I think maybe because people think he came from the NBA and he has like, they think he has this big ego. I don't really see that when I play with him or hang out with him.
Yeah, I don't think it's an ego thing. I think it's just a culture thing. I mean, basketball culture is just different. I mean, you can bark at your teammate in basketball, and that's totally acceptable.
That's
like
true.
Michael Jordan, like was an asshole, like an objective asshole to his teammates, but it's what makes basketball teams great.
Yeah.
You know, and then you come out to the beach and everyone's like pretty sensitive.
And,
you know, and so when you like kind of yap at someone, they're like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
Like, did you see that Chase gave me that look? It's like, well, yeah, he's holding you accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that Chase is so good because he holds himself accountable.
I agree,
It'd be one thing, you know, if you were demanding something of your partner that you weren't doing yourself, but everything he's demanding of anyone, whether it was Rosie or Casey or Troy, like he's doing himself.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's just a culture thing more than an ego thing.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I love Chase. He's so funny.
Yeah.
I think my favorite basketball clip of all time, I've told him this multiple times too. So he was on the Rockets. They were playing the Nets, and he was on the bench. It was like midway through the third quarter. Have you ever seen that Gerald Green dunk, the windmill?
Yes.
In-game, like the craziest in-game dunk of all time. Like the guy's head, chin was above the rim.
Yeah.
And you can see Chase on the bench, and like the entire bench like kind of freaks out, but they're on the other team, so like they can't like do that much.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, shit. It's so funny.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, now I want to go look at it.
What do you have? So you've got your two international finishes, best 3 out of 4. So like you don't have to go crazy on the world tour, but is that still something? Especially because AVP is about to really hit it.
Yeah.
Are you still trying to do a couple more internationals?
I'm definitely trying to get like, I want to finish this year in a good position to go into next year. That Thailand tournament definitely hurt the bank account.
Yeah.
We like split whatever $700 per second, which literally only covered the change fee for my flight because I had to change it because we had a quarantine in Bangkok, which I didn't know.
Yeah. So, that's why I didn't go. When I saw that, I was like, this is going to be too expensive and just too much of a hassle.
So that was literally like on top of the whatever $1,700 flight, I had to pay a $350 change fee.
My heart.
And then they like gave us the check. I was like, all right, I got the change fee covered at least. But yeah, I mean, I do want to, like, obviously I want to play at the highest level. I think the international tour is the highest level in the world right now. But just like trying to figure out which tournaments to go to. I think me and Nick are going to try to do the Morocco and the Portugal challengers.
Is Morocco, isn't that the same weekend as Hermosa?
Is it?
No, it goes, I think it goes, I hope not, but I think it's the Denver Tour Series, Hermosa, and then it's Portugal, Morocco. I don't know which one's first. And then it's like Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
Because I'm planning on being gone like all of July and trying to do those.
Yeah.
I think
Big
it's
month.
the weekend after.
Okay.
I hope it is, but yeah. Those are going to be 2 big challengers, I think, for all of us that are like trying to break in. I mean, me and Tony are going to Lithuania, and she's done some of the futures, and I did the Norsegas, so with our points combined and after Lithuania, we will be set in the qualifier for Lithuania.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we qualify and do well enough, and it should put us in a good position to be in the qualifier for the challengers.
Well,
but I think
the
those are
women's
2
challengers
events.
aren't even filling up anyway.
Yeah, we should be fine regardless, but we're going to Lithuania just to make sure. But those are going to be 2 events that I think a lot of people are going to try and go to because there's not many challengers until like October, November, whatever it is. Then it's like a whole month full of challengers.
I know.
So I think those would be 2 good ones to try and go to for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy like how long it takes for your points to kick in too.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta have the finish like 45 days before the turn or whenever you register.
Like whenever the registration is. Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Like I wanted to do some more futures, even though the money's not good, like just to get the experience. But I remember, Jake and Alex, the Canadian team, like they got a second in, where was it, Australia?
Yeah.
And then they got knocked out in the qualifier in Thailand.
Yep.
And like that kind of, like, what do you do with that? Because you're going to have to keep playing tournaments, but then eventually the second clears.
Dude, that's why I think Americans are crazy for playing futures right now.
Yeah.
I think hit the Norsecas.
Yeah. What is the Norsec? It's 80% of a future?
80%.
Yeah, it's still pretty legit.
It's amazing. Yeah. And those points are actually pretty solid AVP points too, which I'm discovering.
And it's way cheaper. And if you are the top finishing U.S. team, you get an $800 stipend. And then you get paid. First is like you split $2,000. Second, you split $1,000, and third, you split $500.
Better than futures.
Yeah.
So it's just
like
better,
financially and Norsecas. I mean, you have to do something pretty bad to finish like fifth or worse.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a pretty easy tournament.
Yeah.
To get second, what you guys did in Thailand was exponentially more difficult than what me and Tim did in Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we got really similar points, and me and Tim made money.
Right.
Yeah.
I told Tim, because he was like, oh, let's do this futures. And I was like, I'm never playing a futures again. If as long as Norsec is having events, I'm done with futures.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
And then so I was like, it's either Challengers or Norsec in a location that I really want to see.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's a Norsec qualifier, I think, like June 7th or something like that.
Yeah.
That gets you into a couple events, but they're in July.
They all
during
conflict.
like Hermosa and during the Challengers.
Okay.
Like I don't think we'll do those. But going to the two that, we went to, Tony couldn't do the qualifier, so I went with Megan, and so I only got half the points. But I'm still grateful because that still helps us. But if Tony had been able to go to the qualifier and we did these last two events, we probably could have won as well, gotten more points, and then not even had to go to Lithuania at all.
Yeah.
And just saved. I mean, the flight for that was like $1,300,
Yeah.
and it's like 40 degrees there, so it's like that's not going to be super.
That cold.
It's not gonna. It's like high 40s.
Would you rather play in freezing cold or like burning hot?
I don't know.
Like 40 degrees or 108?
Probably 40, honestly.
I think I'd take the heat.
I'd take the cold.
108
Well, I
is
think-
too much. It was like 95 in La Paz. It was almost 100 in Austin, and that was tolerable. But any hotter, I don't know and more humid, I don't know what I would have done.
I think the only
Like
reason I
Atlanta
would
last year
take the
I died.
heat is because I think I can out-tough someone else.
Yeah.
And in the cold, like
you're
everyone, once you get
freezing.
warm, like, yeah, it sucks. It's
Yeah.
uncomfortable, but like no one's just going to die.
Right.
But like I love seeing the other teams melt. Like when
Yeah.
we played Puerto Rico, I was like, oh, they're toast.
They're done.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
See
And also
him
in the
smoking
heat too, you
cigarettes.
like exactly. In the heat too, you're warm. Like
Yeah.
you're not. You don't have to do as long of a warm up. You don't. In the cold, like I think there's more risk for injury as well because
Yeah.
you're just more cold. So we'll see. Me and Tony are trying to figure out like matching leggings and long sleeves. Like we finally got the swimsuits dialed in, and now we have to go match the leggings and the long sleeves and packing a carry on for 3 weeks because we're going this Thursday. So
Yep. And Tony knows better than to check a bag now. She learned that in Australia.
She
watching
checked a bag.
Porzana.
She
I
lose it
don't know.
immediately?
Well,
I
no.
don't
So
know.
in Australia, when we went to Coolangatta, we had to take like a little puddle jumper from Coolangatta to Sydney, and it was like on basically the spirit of Australia.
Yeah.
And so Zana has this bag. It's the biggest bag I've ever seen in my life. And it weighs so much. And so like after a certain weight, so you get charged for the checked bag,
Right.
and then after a certain weight, you get charged like per kilo.
Oh my god.
And her bag was like 10 times as expensive as our tickets. And Zana just got clobbered by this thing. And Tony was like, oh my God, I'm going to be so poor. And I was like, Tony, don't check a bag. Ever.
No, we're literally bringing a carry on from San Antonio to New Orleans straight to Lithuania. And I'm like, all right, hopefully we qualify. We're in New Orleans, then we just do our laundry at Evan's house, and I'll have him. He can check the bags back on Southwest on the way home. He can take some stuff, and we'll pack light. It sucks 'cause it's cold. You have to pack the layers, but I learned that on like the SOB trips and stuff too. And Turks and that stuff's expensive, especially if you're on. We're on Valeris, and they try to make us pay more.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we paid for a backpack and a carry-on, but they have to. They're only able to weigh like 22 pounds combined. And they try to make us, and I started putting my clothes on. I was like, I'm not paying. I threw a fit. This was
like
in
a
Aguas
snowman.
Calientes. We were in Aguas, and it was like 6 a.m. Our flight was so early, and the lady, she didn't speak English, and she's weighing my bag, and I opened it, and I started just putting all my clothes on. I'm like, I refuse to pay for this bag. And then in La Paz, instead of, the lady kept coming up to us saying, take your bag over here, take your bag. And we look at Bill, and we were in like the last group 3, and they're probably going to make everyone check their bag because of the bin space and make you pay for the weight, of course. They just want to rip you off.
Right.
And we see Bill just like hop in line with group 2, and we're watching him. We're like, what's he doing? And he scans it after she told him twice to go check his bag.
Yeah.
The same lady scanned his pass and just was like, let him go.
Yeah.
And so we all get in line with group 2. We all somehow made it through, didn't have to pay. But yeah, those types of flights will just rip you off.
Yeah.
So yeah, no check bags.
It's a bad way to lose money.
It's just the worst.
Lose enough money as it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's next for you, New Orleans?
I'm actually playing in San Antonio this weekend.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I just heard about that.
Yeah.
Big 1 seed.
Are we?
Yeah. I was looking at the entry list. I was like, oh, Timmy B.
Yeah.
On top.
Timmy.
Yeah, I'm excited to play with Tim.
Yeah.
Tim, Schwangel, and Logan, we played like all off season. I don't even remember when that was. Maybe after 2019, like between 2019 and 2020. So it's good. I'm gonna have fun playing with Tim.
Yeah.
Like I know how to play with him, so it'll be fun. I will feel bad though if like we play like Schwangel and Berkey or something in the quarters. And
That's what happened with Bill and Evan. They played Schwangel and Berkey.
Oh yeah.
In like the round of 16 and beat them.
Yeah.
And that just is a bummer because
I would feel bad if I like took a spot away from someone. But I mean, hey, like if the AVP is not gonna stop it, which by the way I think they should. I think if you're a main draw team, you shouldn't be able to play the qualifiers.
Yeah.
Because that just, I mean, it just messes up the bracket. Like you have to face whatever main draw team in the quarterfinals.
Steve and Pete got screwed.
Yeah.
In Panama City.
Right.
They win their pool, get Avery and Baranek first round.
Messed up their pool. Yeah.
Brutal.
I mean, I'm playing because like I said, like I have a lot to work on. I think the game experience is good. Like you learn a lot through tournaments, a lot more than practice.
Yeah.
So I think like it's a good opportunity for me to get better and to help Tim out too. I know like if we win it, Tim will get some points from it. So, but I will feel bad if I knock somebody I know.
You're like playing Schwangel and Berkey. It's like, man, Andy's serve percentage went down to 2.
Just serve balls under the net. Yeah.
What was he optioning? 30 balls out in a row.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that to Tim though. I know Tim needs the points too, and Tim wants to win. So
especially if it's against Schwangel.
Yeah. He's not gonna. Schwangel won't let either of us live it down.
Yeah. No.
So.
Right on, man. Well, congrats on all the success so
Thank
far.
you.
I'm excited to watch you keep being a badass this summer.
Thank you, man.
Andrew Benesh.
Andrew. I'm going to start calling you Andrew now when I see you.
Good to have you back on, brother.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
Shoots.